This is Kevin Pruitt with Rising Tide Startups, and my special guest today is Clay Clark. Clay, thanks for joining us on Rising Tide.
Hey, I appreciate you for putting up with me and for demonstrating the lack of judgment needed to have me on your show.
Well, it's been 15 seconds, so I don't know how soon we're going to have to hit the pause button, but man, I'm really looking forward to this, and done a little stalking before, pre-show stalking, and seeing you on other podcasts and some videos out there. You're pretty ubiquitous.
Well, I appreciate you using a word with that many syllables to describe me.
Okay, yeah, for those in Arkansas, I meant you. He's everywhere. So, I hate to throw all my family under the bus, but
what he's trying to say that they're everywhere, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to speak a little quieter. So, yeah, Clay, tell a Rising Tide a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm the former United States Small Business Administration's Entrepreneur of the Year for the state of Oklahoma. I founded a company out of my dorm room at Oral Roberts University called DJConnection.com. I started EITRLounge.com. Alphabetically speaking, I started EpicPhotos.com, MakeYourLifeEpic.com. A company now called Party Pro Rents. It used to be called Party Perfect Rents. It was a big party rental company. The Tulsa Bridal Association. I messed up the alphabet. Then in the ThriveTimeShow.com. But there's a lot of different businesses. Tip Top Canine Franchising. I'm helping them franchise their business. And basically, I grew up without money. I thought to myself, I'd like to make money. How much money? I thought I'd like to be a millionaire and hire my dad before I was 30. And I made a list of how many DJ shows I would have to do that. I had a wedding entertainment company that before I sold it, we were doing 4,000 events per year, 80 events per weekend. And when the average event makes a profit of at the time when I sold it, it made a profit of $167 per show. If you're making $167 per show and you want to make $1 million a year, you can kind of do the math. And we did it. And so I sold the DJ business when I was 26, 27. And then I took that money and invested in medical businesses, photography businesses, men's grooming, just all different industries. And now we coach 160 clients that we charge $1,700 a month to. We operate at about a 15% profit margin. So if you're one of my clients, like colafitness.com or fullpackagemedia.com or shawhomes.com, you're paying me $1,700 a month. I'm making approximately $340 a month off your account. And we have 160 clients. And like Shaw Homes, we started off with them. They were at $37 million a year of revenue. And this year we have crested over $80 million. And we are not in December yet as of the time of this recording. So we've doubled the size of Oklahoma's largest home building company. And we document all of our case studies. So it's very transparent. And we only take on 160 clients, which is why we started doing conferences, because we can't accommodate any more clients, or I don't choose to accommodate any more clients.
So give us a little family background.
Yeah, I have a wife who's incredible named Vanessa Clark. If you Google her, you will discover that she has all the genetic DNA that one would want to be a model, and I have all the genetic code needed to be a backup hand model.
Like you have a radio face.
Yeah. So, but we have 5 kids, and we have 40 plus chickens, thousands of trees, and we live at what we affectionately call Camp Clark and Chicken Palace. And then behind our home, we have the Lampoon Lagoon, which is essentially a man cave with a big pool and kind of a grotto. And that's what we do. We spend a lot of time learning, earning, and burning at the Clark House.
And this is in Oklahoma?
Yeah, Oklahoma, the center of the universe.
Absolutely. I've heard that that's where you go when you die. Is that true?
I think a lot of people, now this is something controversial idea. I know you have listeners all over the world, but we're beginning to hear, mainly in my office, that Oklahoma is the capital of tourism in America. And so we've scheduled it. If you come to a conference, we're going to make a sod farm tour available for you, where we'll take you to whatever sod farm you want to see. And you just want to remember, when you're laying sod, green side up, folks, green side up.
That's a good rule to live by.
That's a life tip.
I don't know how you can compete with the world's biggest ball of yarn in Kansas. I mean,
Well, there's the world's biggest ball of twine in Minnesota, where I'm from, and that was impressive. I mean, a lot of times, I pondered it, just the profundity of it, for hours.
Well, now that we've established that you don't like transparency and you're a classic underachiever, would you unpack a little bit. I mean, you went through these businesses kind of at a quantum pace here. So take us back a little bit and just kind of walk us through the whole transition. I mean, you just woke up one day in your teens and said, "Hey, I'm tired of being poor and I just want to start something." And
that is
true.
true.
You did this in your dorm room, but
that's true. What happened is we DJ'd a school. And everybody is in high school or middle school. You attend a dance, and the dance is a time for you to pretend like you don't have parents, and your parents drop you off as far from the school as possible. So they're going to drop you off of half a block or a block. You're trying to negotiate maybe a mile or two. They drop you off in the parking lot, and you show up with other 8th graders, 7th graders. And what you're trying to do is if you're a man, you're trying to find a woman that you can dance with at some point. And you're kind of chicken, and so for some reason you're playing basketball and you're chasing dudes around, and no one's really dancing except for the one guy in your class who's a dancer.
That guy, yeah.
That guy. So that guy's out there dancing with all the ladies. Meanwhile, you're not dancing. And then when the lights dim down and they say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have 10 minutes until your parents will pick you up," it occurs to you your parents are going to show up again. So now you go and run. You find I'm old enough. I'm born in 1980, so when I was in 8th grade, all the girls, their names were Ashley or Amanda. I had a lot of Amandas, a lot of Ashleys. All the guys' names, their names were John. You'd see a lot of Johns and Lukes. Now it's Skylers and Madisons and that kind of thing. But you would look for a young lady with big bangs because it was in the 80s. You'd find that lady, and you would ask her to dance with you, and then you would dance to End of the Road by Boyz II Men, and then the lights would turn on, and then your parents would find you. And anyway, I discovered that the dances were bad. You got good pizza, you got the good, food options. You got tons of Mountain Dew, enough Mountain Dew to kill a small goat, but the dance itself wasn't good. And so the teacher, Miss Gow, she says she looked like Lois from the Superman show back in the day when Terry Hatcher played the role. She was the young teacher, the cool teacher, the one that all the guys were like,
I'll take her class.
Older, I would take her. So what happens is she says, "Guys, how was the dance?" And I said, "It was terrible." She said, "Mr. Clark, if you think that you could do it better, don't criticize, okay? You just need to do it. Be the change you want to see." That kind of thing. I'm going, sure. Meanwhile, he's terrible. She's like, "Okay,
thank you, Gandhi.
Sarcasmo. You want to DJ it? Is that what you want? You want to DJ it? You want it?" I said, I will DJ it. Yes. So I was a stuttering student. I didn't learn to stop stuttering until about the age of 13. Terrified of public speaking. But I said, I've got what it takes. So I cold called a bunch of people. I'm 16 years old. I guess I was like 14 years old, 13, 14 at this time, calling people. And I found a guy named Oswald, who high school urban legend. He was a pothead, and he had speakers. And Oswald was willing to rent me big ones. He said he'll rent me the speakers for a percentage of what I bring in or something. I said, sure. So I go back to Mrs. The teacher back in the day. I said, "Mrs. Page, here's the deal. If you'll give me $5 per person that attends the dance, we never have more than 200 or 300 kids show up. If you give me $5 per kid after that 200 or 300, give me a number, I'll beat it." So I think she told me 200. So no exaggeration, no hyperbole. I was able to get close to 1,000 kids to attend to the dance. Now I broke the rules. I didn't know the rules. I invited kids from other schools. That's not a rule. I invited kids from other schools. It is now. Yeah, it's a new rule. It's an official rule. It was not at the time. It was more of an urban legend. I didn't know you could invite Litchfield Dragons to the Dassel Cokato Charger dance. But I did that, and I invited all the kids. And we probably had, 700, 800 kids at least that paid. So I ended up clearing on that night like $2,000. But what Mrs. Page didn't realize is I called a company called Volt, which was trying to be like Mountain Dew. And I asked them if they could sponsor the dance because we're raising money to support students in need, which was me. They said, sure. So they dropped by tons of free beverages at my parents' house. I got free beverages that I was selling. I could keep all the revenue on that. Got the speakers dirt cheap. I didn't have a crossfader. I didn't know how to mix the music properly, but I could rock the mic, and I made a playlist of every single song I would play in order. So every song was a hit. And in between the songs, I would say, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at a level 7. We are at a level 7, and we cannot stay at a 7. No, we can't. We've got to take this party to a 10. Who wants to go to a 10? And they're like, woo! And then bam, hit it. And then I'd play the next song. And it would just keep happening over and over and over. And then for almost 3 hours, I kept the momentum going, and people were going, that was awesome. And then Mr. Johnson came in and said, "Mr. Clark, it's too crazy," because kids were crowd surfing. Because remember, it's built for 200 kids. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. You got to shut it down. I said, "I'm not shutting it down." I said, "Do you want Mr. Johnson to shut it down?" no. And everyone's like, no. Everybody, no. And it's just, and then we played Let Me Clear My Throat, Let me clear my, and the crowd's going crazy. And then he turns on the lights and shuts down. He just turns on the lights. And I'm like, if you're not happy with this, let him know. So people start hurling volleyballs at him, and it's crazy. I got kicked out of the dance.
I was going to say, you're real popular about that time.
Yeah, I got kicked out. I walked home. My dad picked me up on the side of the road because I couldn't drive. And he's like, son, what you've done is a very bad thing. And everyone in our small town of Dassel, Cokato, Minnesota, Cokato, C-O-K-A-T-O, with a population of 2,038 people, they all know your name. And I'm going, yes, they do. And so that's how it started. And then I just kept getting better and better, getting kicked out of dances less and less. And I found that controversy, or a purple cow, as Seth Godin would call it, or standing out, is critical. And I did the same moves to pay my way through college at Oral Roberts University. I would put soap in the fountains at the private Christian university. And I was not a Christian, but I was going to a Christian university. And I would put the soap suds in the fountains, and it would create bubbles. And the bubbles would make people wonder, I wonder what's going on. It must be a dance party this weekend. That's how I promoted my way through college. Charged people $5 a head there, where we had parties at the Marriott, where it was very hot. And then I got kicked out of college at Oral Roberts University for a similar kind of stunt. And then it occurred to me, my dad called me and said, why don't you stop DJing clubs and do weddings and just get serious? You're getting married soon. Why don't, you're a 20-year-old guy, you're getting married. Why don't you get serious? And I said, no. And then after several brawls occurred at various clubs I was DJing at, it occurred to me, I want to be safe, and I want to get paid. I'm ready to turn in my DJ craziness and exchange that for consistency of income, thus giving way to DJConnection.com, America's largest wedding entertainment company at the time.
And there's fewer brawls at weddings. I mean, that we can't rule them out altogether, but there are probably generally
Let me tell you this. I would get invited to the Summit Club, which was like a country club in the top height. Tulsa, we have a big skyscraper called the Bank of America Tower on the 30th floor and the 31st floor. It is swanky. I mean, you walk in, sir, may I take your coat? Sir, would you like to, and I'm like, sir, who are they talking to? There's a guy in the bathroom would you like a towel? Would you like a mint? How are you? And it's just like, I'm like, what's going on? Why is he in here? And they're going, oh, that's a guy. He's an attendant. It's fine. He's here to help you. Okay, sure. I mean, they have a multiple course meals. You would sit down. You would have nice linens, nice silverware, multiple. And I thought, what is this place? That people pass around hors d'oeuvres. They're going, sir, would you like an hors d'oeuvre? I'm a DJ. Yeah, I'll take 17. You know what I mean? Because I don't know.
Just leave the platter here.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about class. This is unlimited. Let's have as much as. I thought it's like having Billy Madison go to someone's wedding. That first year or two, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the Summit Club, the Southern Hills Country Club. It's like a $50,000 a year country club. I've never been to places like this, and so I'm just DJing. And I remember one event planner. She told me, Claudia. Oh, she was a wonderful lady. Claudia said, can I talk to you real quick? Sure. You are the most tacky man I've ever met. How old are you? I'm like, I'm 20. She said, what is with the linen? Is that a bed? Is that a bed sheet? And I go, yes.
Well, yes, it is.
And she's like,
matter of fact,
I'm not going to curse on your podcast, although I want to. But or Nalp, or if you're listening, you know who you are. And by the way, everybody out there, if you need catering and you live in Tulsa, call this guy. I haven't talked to him in a decade, but 918-402-1860. That's the commercial line. 918-402-1860. And or says he comes up to me at the German American Society. He says, hello, my name is R. And he used to be a DJ from Turkey. Now he's like the top caterer. He's in his 60s. He looks like the Nazi character from Blues Brothers. The guy who's always mad trying to catch Jake and Elwood. He says, this is very tacky setup. And I'm going, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, this is what I have. What can I do better? He goes, and he said, this whole setup is effing ridiculous. But he drops the bomb. And I'm like, what? He's like, you're an F up. That's what he told me. I remember going, true. Well, how can I get better? And I kept doing that, right? I'm falling forward. Teaching moment for your listeners. I'm learning lampposts in the fog rather than waiting for it to be perfect, right? Perfect is an enemy of done. Meanwhile, I'm just doing. I'm learning by doing. That's how, if you quote Sir Isaac Newton, he talked about we learn through doing. Doing. People learn through doing. it's unbelievable. Sir Isaac Newton also talked about how if I've seen further, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. Well, I would go to these shows and DJ, and if my show would end early because I wasn't very good, and they, by the way, all ended early on, I would sit and watch the other DJs at other receptions DJ in other ballrooms. And I'm going, oh, wow, that's what professional lighting looks like. Oh, man, their speakers are better than mine. Wow, their stage presence is better. They have a plan. They're making announcements. They say every announcement twice. They would say, ladies and gentlemen, coming up in just a moment, we have our beautiful bride and groom. In just a moment, they're going to be cutting the cake. Once again, folks, the beautiful bride and the groom will be cutting the cake. I remember thinking, that's so stupid. Why would they say it twice? No. But then I would ask the other DJs, why do you say it twice? And they said, the first time you're getting people's attention. The second time you're saying it, now they get it. Oh, wow, the DJ's hyping up the crowd before the bride gets there. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up in just a moment, the bride and the groom are going to be coming through those main doors. And when they do, we want to take this party to a next level. How many people here are excited about the bride and the groom? And they're warming up the crowd. And I learned all these moves. And I just kept learning and falling forward and learning. And then I kept doing it. And I thought, well, I'm going to hire another disc jockey and another. And when I was 20 years old, I remember I was hopping in the car, driving on Riverside. I was 21. I told my wife, hey, Vanessa, we should build a house. And she says, well, we can afford to build a house. I'm like, well, we're grossing hundreds of thousands of dollars and we could do it. It's gross revenue,
Sure.
And I meet with a mortgage person. They said, well, with that kind of gross revenue, what kind of profits are you making? Oh, that's something I should be doing. Yes. So, you learn about pricing, but I was working at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV, doing hundreds of thousands of dollars of gross revenue, very unprofitable. And I have a copy of, this is my first, all of my wedding gigs I did my first 3 years are all in this binder.
Wow.
Right here, all of them. I mean, this is like my first 2 or 3 years. And they're all
the wedding Bible.
Handwritten. I mean, they're in there. And it's just like every wedding was a different price because I would try a different strategy every time. But then over time, I built all the systems and grew it to where we would have 80 disc jockeys going out every weekend. It was super systemized. And you would say, wow, that guy was a genius. No, I got better 1% every week.
Well, I love the idea of just kind of falling forward and learning from others in your craft. And I mean, I'm going to kind of go to school on that, what you just said about having to say it twice. So you and I are hopping on an elevator. We're going to go up about 10 floors. You've already said this kind of in your intro, but give me your elevator pitch again on what you're currently doing.
What I'm currently doing is my partner, Dr. Robert Zellner, and I, we own 16 multi-million-dollar companies that you can go to see. So EITRlounge.com is a men's grooming lounge, haircuts for guys, like a country club for men's hair. It's a membership model, 4,000 members. It's high quality. The first haircut's $1, but it's like $60 of service. Mm-hmm. So then you're like, wow, that was awesome. You can sign up for a membership for about $40. Then you have like MLK Dentistry is a client I coach. Okay. So he's a pediatric dentist. So if all your listeners Google search Tulsa Pediatric Dentistry, you'll find MLK Dentistry. Comes up top in Google. Boom. Another one, if you Google search Tulsa Basketball Lessons, you'll see one of my clients, ScoreBball.com. It's the largest basketball training facility in Oklahoma. And I either own a part of or coach 160 brands that currently grew this year by $2.3 billion of revenue. So some of the brands are huge. Some are not so huge. So Shaw Homes, doing $37 million a year of revenue, shawhomes.com. That's big. But this year doing 80, that's pretty huge.
That's a pretty substantial increase.
Yeah, and I can talk about that freely because they allow me to do that, and their testimonials are on our website, and I can do that.
Sure.
Full Package Media, startup, who's paramedic 3 years ago. He just passed $1 million of gross revenue in 2019. Fullpackagemedia.com. It's a real estate photography company. Tip Top Canine. I have all these companies I work with, and I just help them nail it and scale it. And because I have no hobbies or interests, I find myself having a lot of time.
It sounds like you have a hobby and interest in exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, but it's the distractions. You know what I mean? The distractions can keep you from the actions.
Exactly.
And I don't struggle with, God, I watched The Voice last night. And it was so good. I watched The Next Voice. And then I went and saw the Harriet movie twice because I don't watch The Matrix. I don't read poems. I just am interested myopically in growing businesses and helping people create time and financial freedom.
Right.
With my time freedom, I write semi-clever rap songs that get better every year that are kind of fun that air on my podcast.
I saw somewhere where someone described you as like a combination of I'm trying to remember what it was. Was it Jay Leno and meets Dave Ramsey?
Yahoo said I was Jim Carrey meets business. That's what Yahoo. They did an article about me. But I feel like I'm more of at the conference, I didn't know who Jim Gaffigan was for a long time.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people would come up and say, "You remind me of Jim Gaffigan." And I'm going, "Why?" And they go, "Because you whisper all the time." And I'm like, "Get out of here."
Voice conversations you're having.
Yeah, inner dialogue. And then on our podcast, we do on thrivetimeshow.com, we do 40 different characters, 40 that show up from time to time. And they kind of personify what I would call jackassery. And jackassery is a wealth repelling disorder that binds the universe together that most of us struggle with at some point. It's what makes you late for a meeting. It's jackassery.
Especially former DJs.
Oh, if you're a DJ, you're bound by jackassery. You're on the bondage of jackassery. You cannot escape. That's what you do. Yeah. But it's what makes you not have an agenda for your staff meeting. It's what makes you not check the bank account. It's what makes you walk by a piece of trash and leave it there.
Sounds like a dangerous condition.
It is. The world suffers from it. And I wrote a book about it, and it was I listed all of the jackassery that I once struggled from, and it's gone over pretty well.
So walk us through kind of the I know that each client would be different, but is there kind of a skeleton or a foundation that you walk each company through, and kind of give us the highlights of your areas of specialty? I mean, is it kind of full, broad, comprehensive, or are there specific things that you guys are really good at?
Well, let's do it. Let's go through. Let's pretend we're doing an assessment, and the one I just did yesterday or 2 days ago was a auto body repair shop in New England.
Mm-hmm.
And so we start off, I go, step one, we establish revenue goals. What's your annual revenue? What's your current revenue? Like, what's your annual revenue now? But what's your goal? So what's your goal revenue? What's your annual revenue now? Where are you now versus where do you want to be? We just got to know that. A lot of people right there, they go, overall, I just want to be successful. Overall, I just want, and I don't know what that means, because I'm done trying to earn money. I'm just trying to help one listener on your show today, and I have 160 clients. So I'm no longer trying to expand my territory. I'm very happy. Okay, good. But some guys want to grow. I mean, one of my clients said, my son died in a freak accident at the age of 19, and I worked every hour of every day, and I just want to spend time with my family. So this homie is one of my clients. He literally goes to California every single week on Friday and shuts his business down, and he comes back to Oklahoma on Mondays every week. But he used to be open 7 days a week. So I want to go over your revenue goals and then why. Step two is when we want to know the numbers. How many customers do you need per week just to break even? How many customers do we need per week to achieve your goal? So being very transparent with our listeners. A chicken. I know we have to dream, but a chicken costs, to buy a really good chicken, I mean, if you're going to get a quality silky chicken, I'm going to drop something crazy like $8 on a chicken. Now, I know some listeners might say that's nuts, but I'm going to drop up to $8 on a chicken. Now, so I don't have a lot of goals that cost a lot of money, because I drive a Hummer that was originally driven by Moses. It's an older Hummer, and I've had it forever. And everything I own is pretty much paid for. I don't have anything I owe money to. So my break-even point, I need $96,000 a year to feed my wife, my 5 kids, and to send them to private school. And my wife doesn't charge me for sex, and that's a great thing. My kids don't charge me for love. My friendships, they don't charge me to hang out. hot tub. It costs money to fire up, that kind of thing. So anyway, it's $96,000 a year. That's what it is currently. So I need to cut 4,000 haircuts a month to pay myself $8,000 while also putting money back into the reserve account. I pay myself $2 per haircut, and it goes back into the reserve account. So just that business alone pays for my life. So you got to know your numbers. But then we got to figure out what's our biggest limiting factor. And so you ask the client, you ask the potential prospect, what's your biggest limiting factor? And the guy from Boston, not that everyone in Boston sounds like this, but we'll just pretend he does. So basically, freaking, it's just the freaking, you can't find good freaking people freaking, you know what I'm saying? Lobster. That's what happens. And you're like, did you just say lobster? No, I didn't say freaking lobster, Tom Brady, But you find out that people that they feel like they can't find people. So we got a lot of customers coming in, but I can't find enough people. So then that becomes the biggest limiting membrane. I talked to a guy earlier this week, cool guy, not a good fit. He says his biggest limiting factor is he wants to change the way that people interact with food. So I'm going, for a long time, I'm a Christian. God has been instructing people, not to be gluttonous or don't overdrink, or, the 12 disciples were talking about certain things. Jewish people have had the Rabbi Daniel Lapin on our show. He's been talking about things. The Pope's been talking about things. You're trying to talk about not being gluttonous. I mean, I can't fix that. I'm going to have to peace out. Not going to work. Well, why? Because I can't change human behavior. Now, I can tell you, some of my clients I work with have big box gyms, and this is a secret to success. You get a big box, a big gym. You get the best equipment. And then you charge people a membership fee, and no one ever shows up. Now, I can help you make money that way.
Absolutely. That is a great model.
Don't show up. Oh, they don't show up. So you can get yourself about 50,000 members at a gym where it has a capacity for 500, and you're like, how does that work? Because they check the little scan cards, and like 1% of people, seriously, 1% to 3% ever show up. And if you're a gym owner, one of my clients I worked with, he used to text you a reminder if you didn't show up for the workout. Oh, that's a bad gig. That's a bad gig. Because if you text someone a reminder, hey, we haven't seen you in a month, they cancel. So anyway, so you go over the biggest limiting factor. Some people say, I have a lot of leads if I don't close anything. Some people say I don't have any leads, but everyone has a different biggest limiting factor. Step 3, I ask them, how many hours per week are you willing to work? And then usually you have a coachable person or an uncoachable person, A or B. The coachable person will say, Clay, how many hours a week do you work? And I go, well, let's not talk about hours. Let's talk about when I work. So I wake up every day at 3 a.m. and I get to the office about 4. I listen to TD Jakes while I'm driving here. And then from 4, my first meeting with my team is at 6 a.m. I plan my day, the first couple hours. I meet with my team at 6 a.m. to answer all their questions. We have a staff meeting every morning at 6. At 7, I hop into my meeting with Stacy Purcell, America's #1 veterinarian recruiter. She's been a long-time client. She does very well. Then I hop on the call with Pastor Brian with his church based in Amarillo and Owensboro at 8. And then at 9, I meet with Master Machine, a machine shop. And at 10, I meet with Roy and RC Automotive and RC Automotive Specialist. And then at 11, I meet with Steve Currington, TotalLendingConcepts.com. And at 12, I meet with Aaron Antis with Shaw Homes. And at 1, I meet with American Document Shredding. And at 2, and they go, sounds like all your meetings are back to back. Don't you have any downtime? I go, no. And then I go home. When I'm home, I turn my phone off because I'm home. So we talk about optimizing our schedule and how many hours are we willing to work. And some clients say 80, some say 40, some say 30. We got one client right now who has cystic fibrosis. He knows when he will die, and he wants to maximize the hours he's living. So his schedule is very different than mine. And he works about 4 hours a day and does an unbelievable job. And but his is, so who am I to say you need to work 12 or 10 or 4 hours a day? Step 4, and I won't bore your listeners with all 13 steps, but step 4, so we want to determine what's your unique value proposition. How do you stand out? If you were Hobby Lobby, what do you do differently, Mr. Hobby Lobby? Well, we're a Christian home goods company. It's closed on Sundays, and we offer huge discounts on home decor. Okay, cool. Mr. Harley Davidson, what do you do differently, sir? Well, Ken Schmidt, who used to manage and run Harley Davidson there for a while, he was their chief marketing officer who took them out of bankruptcy. He's spoken at our conferences. He said, well, what we found is that they're louder than anybody else and more powerful. and less fuel efficient. I repeat, less fuel efficient, louder, and more powerful than the Japanese bikes, we're going to win. See, most people don't have a differentiating. What is it makes you different? What's the thing that makes people unsubscribe from my podcast? Your ridiculousness. True. That's it. People unsubscribe because of my ridiculousness. And you might say, no way. Yeah, that's true. They did. People unsubscribe because of my ridiculousness. Why do people subscribe? I got a letter today from a dude in Russia
Sound effects are free,
who listens and says the reason why he listens every day is because it's funny. But some people say, you got to get more serious, man. You got to be more serious. My partner's 54. We have 16 multi-million-dollar companies, and we've been serious for a long time, thank you. And we no longer want to be serious because we're going to be dead soon. So we like to have some fun, but it doesn't mean if you have a podcast, you have to be fun. You just got to figure out what is your niche, what makes you different, what's your unique genetic code. Step 5 is branding. You know, your branding on a scale of 1 to 10. To 10, does it look like Tiffany or Nike? Or 1, does it look like, you know, the Plan B for the Kmart off-brand that's currently not sold in stores? I mean, does it look like your cousin made it using Microsoft Paint back in the 80s? Or does it look like it was made with a real designer? Does your website look like – yeah. So you got to ask yourself, your branding, we get into that. Then we get into marketing. Step 6, 7 is sales. Scripts. Do you have call recording in place? You know, do you use clarityvoice.com to record your calls or do you not? Step 8, what does it cost you to get a customer? Step 9, do you have repeatable systems, a universal file naming system? Is everything backed up? Do you have documented processes and checklists? 10, management, do you have a management system? 11, do you have a sustainable weekly schedule or does it suck? Human resources, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you have A players or do you have terrible players? You know, A players run circles around B players and C players. Do you do a weekly interview with everybody? Do you not? Does your job post make sense? And then accounting. Accounting? What? Well, as a prophet of profit, my job is to help people make a profit. And most entrepreneurs are big, big men with big, big muscles and big, big trucks with the big, big wheels. They have a good shirt. They have bedazzled jeans, but they do not look at their numbers, all to compensate for the fact they're afraid of numbers. Big, big guys, big, big women with big, big goals. Nobody, though, wants to talk about accounting.
Why is that?
Oh, man, because it's not good.
Because they're afraid of the result. If they look at them, they're like they're trending downward. Their money's leaking out the back door. What's the
well? Let's do a little fun with math here for the listeners this morning. There are 330 million Americans that we know about. Okay, 330 million. Look it up. Some say 327. Census Bureau 329. Let's say it's 330 though. How many of the people in the population are self-employed? One might ask. Well, I was looking it up and I was doing the math. 16 million. So about 16 million are self-employed. Well, Clay, but how many of them fail? How many of them fail? I want to know how many of them fail. 96%. 96% of people fail. Oh my gosh. Yes, 96. That's a big number. Whoa. 96% of people fail in business within the first 10 years. 96%, which means statistically, Mr. Listener, you have a 0.0019% chance of success. That's not encouraging, but it is encouraging because when you know that the biggest issue for all these people, I work with huge companies that have no idea where their money's going 10 years in. I just helped a guy today. True story. I helped a guy today recover. This is terrible. He has a membership model for a great business, doing very well, you would think. We found out that 900 of his members are not charged their $39 a month fee. Oh, it's in MindBody, a great software, and the person who manages it abdicates it. They don't delegate it; they abdicate. They don't look at it. And like apparently there was one little setting. You can look on your phone. You can do push notifications. You turn it on. You turn it off. There was a setting for off. So homeboy literally was turning off $36,000 a month.
Oh, wow.
And
how long? Who knows how long?
Well, we found out today it's approximately 2 years.
Wow.
Now, you know why we found it out? It's because the IRS sent a notification to him saying that he failed to pay a certain tax. So he goes to pay it, thinking the money's there. But I'm telling you, you want to hear American tragedy? Let's do this. This was 36. There's 900 members times 36. And then this is times 24 months. So we have $777,000 that we can never get back. True story. Just today, I work with a huge fracking company, and we put a GPS program on the vehicles. I'll tell you which one we put on them, but we put GPS on the vehicles. We're tracking the numbers. You know, how many units of frac sand need to be hauled per day? And when you have bigger companies, the numbers get bigger. But let me find the company we put on here, because we put a new, let me find it. I know it's not exciting for your listeners. Watch a man find things, but Samara is the company. Samara, S-A-M-A-R-A, Samara. We put the GPS Samara on there, put it on there. Samara, that's the, we put it on there, and we tracked the trucks. We found out that when the frac sand haulers were going to Hooters, they weren't going to the job site. And so we were paying these dudes to do nothing. Guess how much money was being embezzled every month just by people taking the company card, buying things that weren't for the company, making up fictitious invoices and paying companies that they owned, or strictly not going to the job. How much money per month do you think was per month being lost?
1.5 million.
That's you're a negative man. I know, but it was over $200,000 a month that was being embezzled. No, but seriously, that's crazy.
That's still a lot. That's a ridiculous amount.
And that's like that's like in our first two meetings.
You're a negative man.
Yeah, I mean, so
the whole story there.
And then the final thing there's a lot of steps, but the final thing that a lot of people struggle with is search engine optimization.
For sure.
There's a lot of charlatans that make it complicated, and you feel like you're trying to like rewire a nuclear submarine using just spiritual quotations and feelings, and so you don't know even where to start. And they make it complicated. All these internet charlatans make it complicated. And so I wrote a book that all your listeners can download for free right now. Free. There's no upsell. You go to thebestseobook.com, thebestseobook.com. Download the book for free. And in the book, I have 40 case studies that you can read of real people like you that have implemented it throughout the pages. And if you'll just skip to chapter 2, there's a checklist that you just go through and make sure you're checking all the boxes. And then for all of your listeners, the way I do it is, if you will find the Rising Tide podcast today on iTunes and leave a review, or find, where else can they find you? iHeart, maybe? Can they find you on Spotify,
YouTube, yeah, Stitcher.
So anywhere where they could leave a review, just leave a review, subscribe and leave a review. And if you'll send a screenshot of that, send a screenshot of your review so I know you did it, to info@thrivetimeshow.com. Our consultants will do a half-hour deep dive with you, which we would normally charge bigger companies $1,000 for. We would do it for free, and we'll take an hour with you to go through what's wrong with your site. But there's no upsell, there's no catch. Or you can just download my book at thebestseobook.com and go to chapter 2. And once you recognize the steps you need to take, and you're like, man, my site doesn't have HTTPS encryption. I need to put that on my site. Okay, boom. Wow, my site doesn't have all of its meta tags updated. Boom. Well, my site doesn't have 1,000 words of content per page. Boom. Well, my site has a slow site loading speed. Well, it takes the spiritualness out of it. It's just a checklist.
Right. What a great offer, and we're very grateful for you all offering that for our listeners, and we'll make sure that's listed in the show notes. And I'm going to take a little bit of a deeper dive in here. I could continue asking questions about companies and how you kind of migrated over the years, but I'm really curious about just driving a little deeper, and you've probably touched on this in a variety of ways, but I really wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of drill down. What would you say is your why?
It's kind of a thing where I have Thanksgiving coming up. I'm not sure when the show comes out, but I have Thanksgiving. We all have Thanksgiving coming up, And you might say, Clavis, if you know me well, you call me Clavis usually, or Claytron. A lot of my friends call me Claytron because they're like, you're like a robotic sick freak, And I was watching the Bill Gates documentary. I watched it. I'm watching it right now. I'm working my way through it.
It's great.
Bill reads 150 pages per hour with a 90% retention, according to Melinda and those closest to him. That's crazy. So Bill's mom, if you've seen the documentary, she would tap on the door. Bill, what are you doing? He's in there reading and eating pencils. He would gnaw on pencils while reading books, in high school. And you'd say, well, why? What's his why? I think I have extreme massive OCD, obsessive compulsiveness about something. And I also think that because I was, all of us go through some kind of abuse, verbal or whatever, growing up. Somebody's mean to you, bullying, whatever. I think we all had that. I had a little bit of sexual abuse from a neighbor kid back in the day. And I say a little bit, it was a lot. And then my parents found out and they stopped it, okay? But I also stuttered. So I don't need human interaction, if that makes any sense to you. I don't need it. So I could go days. We're doing a 20-hour series right now on the management mastery of Bill Belichick, and there's so much detail in it. And many of our listeners have said, why would you do that? I mean, well, if you don't need human interaction, right? I got a lot of time on my hands. So if you Google search Burj Najarian, B-E-R-J, Najarian, Burj Najarian. Burj Najarian is Bill Belichick's personal assistant. And that is the man who has rejected me more than almost anybody else when it comes to, I want his boss to be on the show, and he rejects me because that's his job, is to keep people like me away from Bill Belichick. Otherwise, we wouldn't want to talk about Bill Belichick if you'd be distracted talking to people like me. So I thought, I wonder how many shows I have to do about Burj Najarian and transcribe them and optimize them before I could be top for his name. It turned out about 10, and now we're top. But because I have no hobbies and interests, nor do I need human interaction, there's nothing stopping me. So my Thanksgiving looks like this. I am going to, at 5:30 p.m., I'm going to pick up a smoked turkey from Oklahoma Joe's. 6, I will drop off the smoked food at Jonathan Kelly's house and my house. 6:15, I will start making the food. 2 stalks of bananas, sweet potatoes, eggs, coconut, unsweetened shredded pecans, scarlet salad, it's my daughter's favorite salad, lettuce, avocado, blue cheese, Newman's balsamic vinaigrette, asparagus, stuffing, celery and onion, pumpkin pie, pumpkin puree, evaporated milk, pecan pie. You go, you write all of it down? Yep. Apple pie. How many apple pies? 1 green, 1 gluten-free pie crust, mashed potatoes, cranberry. I make a checklist for everything. So at 9 a.m., I will wake up and make banana pancakes in the shapes of people of historical significance. I do it every year. And so I'll be like,
everything looks like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, well, I the kids can't see it, but I'm like, who wants Abraham Lincoln? Abraham Lincoln, right? And they're like, Dad, it doesn't look like Abraham Lincoln. It does too. Look at it long enough. It's like that picture from the 90s. You stare at it now. You can see it. Just look at it. And then at 10 o'clock, we begin making food. And then we pick up firewood. And then at 11, we watch the football game. At 5:30, meal is served. 6:30, we make Moscow mules to perfection, and we watch Christmas Vacation. And I have got a whole plan for every day of my life. And so what's my why? It's that I don't have anything else to do. I mean, I literally cannot sit still. I cannot stop. So I don't have like a big thing other than growing up poor. I saw what it was like to be poor. I had no money. And so I have a picture of my dad by my mic in my studio at my house. And every time I talk to a client, I'm 39. When my dad, who's a college graduate from Oral Roberts University, was 37, 38, 39, he was delivering pizzas at Domino's and working the night shift at Quick Trip. I thought he hated me because he worked until 3 a.m. And to this day, I still wake up at 3 because I set my alarm because that's when I could see my dad to watch ESPN SportsCenter reruns. But then as I got older and I watched my dad die of Lou Gehrig's here 3 years ago, I got a chance to have a lot of good talks with my dad after I hired him when I was 27. And he didn't hate me. He just had to exchange every hour of his life for money to put food on our table.
Right.
And if your parent becomes a fable because they're always trying to work to put money on the table, that's a problem. So I figured I am able to help learn to teach people how to put food on their table without requiring them to work all the time. So all these people I work with, they're going, you've changed my life. Like not my business, but I literally went from barely making my payments. We just met with a guy today who's a surgeon who went from like $12,000 a week average sales to $38,000 a week of sales on average within 4 months. He went from barely covering his fixed expenses and paying himself $70,000 a year as a surgeon to we're talking about making $4,000 to $5,000 a week of extra profit. And that, so when I talk to my surgeon client, it's really weird and it's like a movie. But when I look at my surgeon, I see my dad's face. And well, so I feel like I'm talking to my dad.
You know, you kind of remind me of Eminem and Lecrae had a baby, you know, so there's the nice combination going on there. But I think you kind of uncovered your why during the whole thing. I mean, you can talk about, you know, the checklist, but that's just symptomatic of kind of the more underlying
I agree with you.
Why of what drives you and what gets you out of bed at 3:00 in the morning. But so, I mean, I love the whole basis of our chat today, and just really just kind of picking your brain. I really appreciate you taking that time. But can you kind of wrap us up today? Just speak into the lives of those that might be listening that
Yeah.
Tomorrow want to start something. They have in mind, they might have an idea in mind or whatever, but what's kind of the fundamental process that you would say if you were starting tomorrow from scratch? What would 2 or 3 steps that you would do? And I'm just curious, what type of business would it be?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to say right now, we're assuming we don't have a business. It's going to be the hypothesis we're working off of here. So we don't have a business, but we want time freedom. Now, let's assume that's our goal. We want to be able to have all the time in the world to do whatever we want to do. All right.
Okay.
So we have to find a problem that we can solve. And if you're like, everyone except for 16 million Americans, you don't know what it is. So there's 330 million Americans. Only 16 know what problem they're even going to solve. So you go, I don't know what problem I can solve. Okay. So what can I do? I can follow a system. Okay, cool. So I would recommend, it might be self-serving, so I want to get that out there. But you might say, I'm going to go to oxyfresh.com and I'm going to fill out the form and see if buying an OxyFresh franchise makes sense for me. Because I can, for under 50 grand, buy a business that ranks top in the world in Google for the phrase carpet cleaning quotes. I can show up, clean carpets. I can buy a vehicle for my family. I can buy a business vehicle for under 50 grand that has the capacity to create the money I want to make, and I can teach it to other people. It's scalable. There's a call center that books your appointments for you. They're top in Google. It's very turnkey. So you fill out that form, and you might book a discovery day. You fly out. It's federally regulated franchising. So you fly out to Denver, and you might say, and again, I make money if you buy one. I make $5 grand if you buy one, okay? So if you don't buy one, it's fine. But then you fill out a Jimmy John's. You're like, I get it. I'm hungry. I've eaten food. That's cool. So you fill out that. You go, I'm looking at Jimmy John's, and I'm looking at an OxyFresh. And then I'm going to look at, and I would just look at different franchises that are out there. And if you don't know what to do, if you don't have a skill that is scalable, if I would do franchising, just find a franchise, because you can buy a business for a lot of times for less money than it takes to buy a new car. And after SBA payments, I mean, for $2 grand a month, you got a business, and it works. It's been proven to work, and you can't be a franchise anymore due to the federal regulations from the Federal Trade Commission. You can't be a franchise anymore without disclosing all the facts. So you're going to know everybody who's bought one and failed. You're going to have all the disclosures, all the gross revenue per locations. I mean, it's there. Now, if you have a skill, let's say you're a piano teacher, or you're good at mowing lawns, or you're, you can make a product that people like, cakes or shoes or something. Well, then go try to sell 10 of them. Let's not try to sell 1 million and don't. When I looked at the results I was doing, there's 2 billion people that all wear shoes. And then if I only sell to 1% of the 2 billion and everyone has 2 shoes, that's 4 billion pairs of shoes that I could make $1 million. I mean, just stop it.
Sounds like you're talking to Shark Tank there.
Yeah, let's just find a problem you can solve, okay? Then we try to sell 10. Once you can sell 10, now let's try to sell 100. So now we got to get into the branding conversation. Let's make a beautiful website. And just that. Beautiful site and beautiful packaging. So whatever people see looks great. It looks better than you. In fact, branding is just perception, to quote Elon Musk. Branding is just perception. Sometimes it'll be ahead, sometimes it'll be behind, but it's just simply a perception people have. So look big. Look like you're the biggest company in the world with the best website ever before you sell 100 somethings. And then try to sell 100. And then after that, try to sell 1,000. And you just keep doing that. And then if you can afford it, again, it sounds self-serving, but I'm not always available. I'm usually not. Hire a coach. But don't hire a coach. You don't know what they're doing. Find someone who has a proven track record, that has verifiable testimonials, that you can verify they're not a charlatan. Find a real person, and avoid contracts when necessary, unless they're like a huge track record, someone you can trust. And then if that doesn't work, we have a workshop that we do in Tulsa. And again, for any of your listeners, if they will just leave a review about your show today, the Rising Tide Startups, those leave a review about the Rising Tide Startups podcast, we normally charge $250 per ticket to attend. If they'll leave a review about your show and send us a screenshot proof of it to info@thrivetimeshow.com, they can attend our workshop for just $37.
Wow.
And I was on the Profit First podcast talking about this. And we had a listener who said, I'm going to do it. So he leaves a review, screenshots it, sends it to me with great fear of upsell and, get rich quick and jackassery, that kind of thing. I get it. And he finds out we're in his own city. That man was called Tip Top Canine. He went from 1 location to now 9 locations in the past 3 years. I was on the EO Fire podcast, John Lee Dumas, as we were talking about pre-show. Yeah. And somebody took advantage of this, and they ended up, it was Delricht Research. If you look it up, DELRICHT Research. And we took them from a startup, we'll call it pre-profit, not profit, to $100,000 a month of profit last time we talked. And that was in an 18-month window. Wow. So find somebody who knows the way. And I've paid mentors throughout my career. I mean, I paid Michael Levine $25,000. This is the guy who's the PR. I got to whisper it. $25,000. He's the PR consultant for, if you look at Michael Levine and Google search of Michael Levine and the word public relations. He's the PR consultant for President Bush, Nike, Prince. It was Michael Jackson during his prime, Nancy Kerrigan.
He says Clay Clark now.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and I hired him, and whoa, man, I learned a lot about media. I mean, just this week, I got one of my clients on the Kelly Clarkson show. If you look up in Google, Tulsa man buys 8 billboards to proclaim love for wife. If you Google search that, you'll find it. We got him in Good Morning America, Kelly Clarkson, all from stuff I learned. So find someone who's done it. I mean, it was a lot of money, but he's the best.
And what a great roadmap. I mean, I really like the idea of, if you don't have an idea, you look at franchising. I mean, it's kind
free.
Of a turnkey business in a box.
It's free to learn too. Yeah. I mean, the disclosures required from the federal government are so transparent and so invasive for a franchise owner. They can't just sell you air. So it's so great. I mean, think about that. They have to disclose all of their locations, the gross revenue, the cell phone numbers now of the people that own them. I mean, that totally takes out any shamockery there. I mean, that is power. And you can learn a lot. Even if you don't buy one, you can learn so much about business just by going to the discovery days. Right.
Well, Clay, it's sort of been a pleasure just checking up with you and just really hearing your stories. I mean, it's like we had a webinar here that, right in the middle of our Rising Tide interview. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you just want to kind of close with, and then just let people know where the best place to find you?
Well, I know that everybody has different faiths and different worldviews that we come about, and I think that is, I accept that. But I think that Lee Cockrell put it best. This is one of my partners, the former executive vice president of Walt Disney World Resorts, who managed 40,000 employees.
Wow.
And I put this all in my book, by the way. All your listeners, if they go to thrivetimeshow.com/free resources. So thrivetimeshow.com/free-resources. thrivetimeshow.com/free-resources. They can download all my books, including this book, the Boom Book, for free. There's like 13 books you can download. But Lee says one of the main reasons people don't improve is that they're not honest with themselves. And then George Washington Carver goes on. This guy was born a slave. He ended up totally reinvigorating the African-American cash crops in the soil through learning how to oxidize the soil. Phenomenal. He was born a slave, though. He said 99% of the failures come from people who have the habit of making excuses. So what I'm saying to you, I don't care where you come from, where you came from. I don't care your skin color. I don't care your age. I don't care how many times you failed. I have a Model T, an actual literal Model T in the background here, a second-year edition that we bought, an actual Model T, because Henry Ford lost it all 5 times, and I wanted to find a way to encourage myself, so we have a Model T in the office. And it's an expensive way to demonstrate, but it drives. But Disney lost it all twice. Thomas Edison went through 10,000 failed experiments as a team before he came up with the light bulb that worked. When you think about Elon Musk, Tesla, 10 years of no profit. FedEx, Fred Smith, 13 years of no profit. ESPN, almost a decade of no profit. 11 years of Amazon, no profit. Airbnb, 5 years of no profit. You think about these numbers. Facebook, 3 years and a $3.63 million loss. 3 years, $3.63 million loss. Google, my friends at Google, 1996 to 1999, no profit. So you think about that, then you start to say, gosh, I need to fire more shots. Today is my day. I have looked at my calendar. I have assessed it. I have turned the pages. I look, there's cute dogs on every page and kittens and cats, and there's the cheerleaders and all these different things. But there's no someday. There's a Monday. There's a Tuesday. Where's someday? There's not. There's a Wednesday. There's a Thursday. There's a Friday. Where is the someday? I can't find it in here. There's a Saturday. There's a Sunday, but I don't see someday. Today must be now. Because Napoleon Hill says that a dream is a dream. He says a goal is a dream with a deadline. A goal is a dream with a deadline. So we must have a sense of urgency that you and I will be dead soon. My dad died of Lou Gehrig's, and he did not choose the date of his death. He did not choose the date he would get sick. My best friend died in college. And when you revere every day and you view every day as a gift from God, and your gift to him is how you use that day, now you're going to do some powerful stuff. When you view every day that you have as a gift from God, and then you decide, my gift to God is how I will present when I'm present. What am I going to give to God today? I'm going to give back to him. So if you look up the word work in the Old Testament, the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. The word work in the Hebrew, if you look it up, the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. The word work means worship. I chased around Rabbi Daniel Lapin to have him on my podcast. But the word work means worship. So work and worship mean the same thing. So if you work as unto the Lord with a sense of urgency, you can't lose. Yep. So I encourage you out there today, act now. Whatever it is, start your business now. Do it. Call your wife now. Tell her she's amazing now. Stop being a bad dad now. Stop being a bad business owner now. Do it now. Make your goals right now for your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, and your friendship, and start now. Make your list right now. What are my goals for my F6? Faith, family, finances, fitness, friendship, and fun. And then act now. Put it into your calendar now, because this right here is a great host who's sacrificing his time and his energy because he cares about you being the one person listening. We have an audience of one is how I perceive this, and you need to get motivated. Understand, you do not have time to put it off. This is your time. You have nothing to lose. You came into this earth naked. You're going to leave dead and naked too. So what are you going to take with you? Let's go. Let's do it. What do we have to lose? Nothing. Let's go do it.
What a tremendous closing. We thank you for just kind of wrapping that up in such a tremendous way, and really just taking your time today. And I know it's in the midst of, we had to carve out some time in that incredible schedule that you've got every day. But Clay, I'm grateful on behalf of all of those listen to Rising Tide. We just appreciate your time today and appreciate the info you shared with us, and just the generous offers you've included in this as well. But just thank you again for just taking your time and just helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Clay, thanks again.
Boom.